I've never been a big fan of golf. I think it's honestly how I feel about most sports. I understand the appeal and can certainly appreciate it at times, but that doesn't make me exactly like them. That goes double for golf. Look, I've tried. I've honestly made several attempts to like golf, either to make conversation with people at work or to impress my father-in-law. But I can't. The closest I ever got to appreciating the gentleman's game is Tiger Woods' golf on the Nintendo Wii or Happy Gilmore. Mostly Happy Gilmore.
Son of a bitch, Paul, why didn't you just go home?
When I first heard about the Topgolf brand of hybrid driving range and entertainment complex, I gave it little attention. I couldn't get into what amounts to a modern-day batting cage for upper-middle-class suburban whites. One recently closed right down the street from where I live, across the street from the busy Kingstowne shopping center. I chalked it up to the economy at first. As it turns out, that specific Topgolf has an interesting history to the company itself, and the reason behind its closing highlights a much deeper symptomatic problem of Northern Virginia businesses. Brothers Steve and Dave Jolliffe began the Topgolf enterprise in 2000 after opening its first location in Watford, United Kingdom. They installed microchips into the golf balls and guests would hit them into large targets on the driving range field. The idea was simple: build a large driving range and turn it into a video game. While you're at it, have a giant entertainment complex complete with televisions, food, and booze. Bingo. It's a similar concept to the Lucky Strike bowling alley franchise. They would quickly go on to develop 2 other locations in the UK. As excited as the golf community was for the redesigned driving ranges, the PGA was not. Eventually, an American investor was brought in, the West River Group, to create Topgolf locations overseas in the United States. In 2005, they selected the first location stateside in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Alexandria, Virginia. The West River Group chose Alexandria as its location due to its close proximity to Washington, D.C., and the myriad government officials who frequented golf courses. They were right. There is no shortage of golf courses in the D.C. metro region, especially in Northern Virginia. They built out a facility in an already established driving range in the Kingstowne neighborhood of Alexandria in Fairfax County. The facility featured 70 hitting bays and 2 adjacent 18-hole mini golf courses. The total cost of the build was reportedly $4.5 million. The official opening date was Friday, August 5th, 2005. An article on the opening of Topgolf Alexandria in the Washington Post pontificated on the joys of competing with your friends in a golf game while gorging yourself on, quote, chicken fingers and glasses of wine. God bless America. It quickly grew to become a popular weekend destination for amateur golfers looking to improve their game and friends and family members looking to have a little fun. The modest 17.4-acre location was the perfect place for a date night or casual outing. The location prospered through the early 2000s. Unlike newer locations, this specific one ran on how the UK locations were run, which charged individuals per game rather than per hour. By 2015, there were 28 locations located around the United States. Only one had the title for the first, and that was Alexandria. It was the only location in the area. That is, until it wasn't. In August of that year, Topgolf opened its second location in Virginia, and the 21st overall, in Ashburn. The new 65,000 square foot facility in Loudoun County had 102 climate-controlled hitting bays, a full-service restaurant, 3 bars, and 250 flat-screen televisions. The rooftop terrace even had a fire pit. In essence, Topgolf Alexandria was stylistically obsolete. The Washington Business Journal reported to no surprise in October 2015 that the landowner of the establishment decided to end their lease with Topgolf, leaving the future of the establishment in flux. Then Fairfax County Supervisor Jeff McKay noted how many complaints he received about the location's noise and parking issues. He noted how, quote, Topgolf needs a bigger facility but cannot expand on the heavily constrained current site. As the report noted at the end of its litany of issues, Topgolf had simply outgrown the property. Things slowly deteriorated from there. You can track the slow decline of Topgolf Alexandria by looking at its business page on Yelp. One person online commented that they, quote, "never felt more like my business wasn't wanted." Most people online were perplexed at the old system compared to newer ones they had already visited around the country. Some apparently just felt they were straight up confused with what to do once they walked in. The eventual nail in the coffin for the location came with the announcement of a brand new Topgolf facility in nearby National Harbor, Maryland. The location opened in the summer of 2019. A few months later, in November, the Washington Business Journal reported its closure of the Alexandria location, which included laying off nearly 200 employees. Apparently, the owner of the land on South Van Dorn Street filed plans a year before with Fairfax County to replace the site with townhomes, multifamily units, and commercial space. In an official statement, Topgolf said the following about the future of their first location. In January, Topgolf Entertainment Group will be consolidating operations of Topgolf Alexandria with our nearby modernized venues at National Harbor and Loudoun, as well as our soon-to-be-open technology-equipped venue in Germantown, all serving the greater Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and Maryland area communities. If Topgolf ran a driving range like a video game, then Alexandria's location had the two words nobody wants to hear flashing across its building: game over. Naturally, the work ethic at the location slackened. One Yelp commenter, as late as December 28, 2019, left a long comment on her 1-star rating of the location. Quote, "Our server sniffed our pitchers, like she put her nose in our pitcher, to determine which one was the Miller Lite and which was the cider. What a disaster. Go to Maryland." The lot has sat abandoned since January of 2020. In the new era of COVID, driving by the location is especially ominous. The Ruby Tuesday, under separate ownership, closed its adjacent location shortly thereafter. This was not due to Topgolf's closing necessarily, as it was announced in July 2020 that the restaurant group that owns Ruby Tuesday had quietly closed 150 of its restaurants since the beginning of the year, including the Van Dorn Street location. Every time I drive past the empty lot, I notice more and more going away. Signs disappeared. Grass grew in unwelcome places. I didn't know how long I'd have before it was either gone to development or swallowed up by the poor decisions of reckless teenagers bored in quarantine. Somebody in the Nextdoor app posted images inside the abandoned Topgolf on the grounds and in the hitting bays. From the picture he posted, it looked like the wear and tear was beginning to manifest. Although I was not as adventurous as this individual, I decided to bite the bullet and drive into the abandoned establishment's parking lot to see what I could find. I noticed a lot of visible graffiti on the sides of the walls of the establishment. Thankfully, most of the front looked relatively intact, all save a few windows on the top floor of the driving range. The miniature golf course is completely overrun with weeds and debris. The landscaping looked decent enough with the beginning signs of neglect. You could see the neglect more in the areas around the parking lot, which were completely derelict. Ironic given the headache it was to park at this place on a Friday or Saturday night. Even though the walkway leading up to the driving range level of Topgolf was completely open, I didn't necessarily feel completely comfortable doing so. I knew I would be the one guy who would get caught, so I stayed within the confines of a casual visitor instead of somebody violating trespass. The Ruby Tuesday nearby is also completely abandoned. Unlike Topgolf, the sign still exists. Looking into the building, you can still see seats and a few menus scattered about. There's no word on what will happen to that building, as it is owned by a separate landowner than the former Topgolf. For now, you can still drive by the first Topgolf in the United States and remember the good days when the chicken fingers were in abundance and servers didn't smell your beer. Maybe she was right. Just go to Maryland. If you have personal experience from Topgolf Alexandria, let us know in the comments section. We love to keep it as a document to an interesting piece of Northern Virginia business history.